If there's any conversation that the church needs to be having in our generation, it's the conversation of sexuality.
I mean, the problem with a lot of these cases is that these women can be victims and not even know it.
Tulsa police say a man followed a woman while inside this Hobby Lobby on 71st and Mingo and snapped a cell phone picture under her skirt, not once or twice, but 11 times.
The right perception of what God has given us, because the first step...
Okay, real talk time. How many of you have walked through a store like Target or Hobby Lobby and felt like someone was watching you? That creepy feeling when you can't shake the sensation that some pervert is following you around. Well, one woman in Tulsa, Oklahoma, didn't just imagine that feeling. It was absolutely real. And the man stalking her wasn't some random creep. He was a respected pastor, a father of 4 with another baby on the way, and someone the community trusted so much they put him on their school board. This is how Pastor Kendrick Oakley's predatory behavior finally got exposed, and the details are going to make your skin crawl. You're on TikTok Crimes. We cover what happens when social media fame turns fatal. TikTok stars, Instagram couples, Facebook influencers. When their posts become crime scenes, we break down exactly what went wrong. These aren't just viral stories. These are real murders, real victims. Subscribe right now if you want the truth behind the trending hashtags, because by the time something goes viral, somebody's usually already dead. Here's what happened. Now let me introduce you to the man who had everyone fooled. Kendrick Oakley, 34 years old, living what looked like the absolute perfect Christian life in Claremore, Oklahoma. This man wasn't just playing church on Sundays, y'all. He was a full pastor, an elder at Destiny Life Church's Claremore campus. We're talking about someone who stood in front of hundreds of people every week, preaching about morality, family values, and living righteously.
The right perception of what God has given us, because the first step to good stewardship is the right perception of what you have been given. Gifts can turn into burdens if we don't regularly cultivate our perception of what we are holding. Here's the perception that we must have. What you are holding is a gift from God. What am I talking about? I'm talking about everything God has assigned to your life for your stewardship. I'm talking about your place of service. I'm talking about your church. I'm talking about your responsibility, where you serve. I'm talking about your children, where you work, your job. All of that so often becomes heavy because the reality is it can be weighty, but we're going to get to how God answers the weight that we carry. But here's the first thing that we meditate on in this passage.
And let me tell you, this man could preach. He had that way of making people believe he was truly guided by something higher, that God was working through him to lead their community in the right direction. But here's where this story gets really disturbing. In May 2025, and pay attention to this timeline because it's important, the community loved Pastor Oakley so much that they elected him to the board of Claremore Christian School. Yes, you heard that right. They put this man in charge of decisions affecting their children's education. Parents looked at Kendrick Oakley and thought, now, there's a man we can trust with our kids. But here's what those parents didn't know. By the time they were voting to put him on that school board, Kendrick Oakley had already spent 16 minutes stalking a woman through a Hobby Lobby, trying to record up her skirt 11 different times. That happened in July 2024, almost a year before they gave him more power over their children. The investigation was stalled because of legal complications. So the community had no idea they were putting a predator in charge of their kids' school. At home, he had the picture-perfect family setup. 4 children with his wife Elizabeth. And guess what? Baby number 5 was on the way, due December 2025. From the outside looking in, this man had it all. Successful ministry career, growing family, community respect, and a position of authority over children's education. The congregation at Destiny Life Church looked up to Pastor Oakley as their role model. Here's a man who appeared to have his life together, who could preach a good sermon, who seemed to genuinely care about families and protecting the innocent. Church members probably went home after services thinking, I wish my husband was more like Pastor Oakley. But here's what nobody knew about their beloved pastor. While Kendrick Oakley was busy building this reputation as a pillar of the community, he was also developing some very disturbing habits. And those habits were about to catch up with him in the most public, humiliating way possible. Because on one particular afternoon in July 2024, Pastor Oakley decided to take a little trip to the Hobby Lobby near East 71st Street and South Mingo Road in Tulsa. Now, most people go to Hobby Lobby for craft supplies, home decor, maybe some seasonal decorations. But Pastor Oakley, he was shopping for something very different that day. So on July 9th, 2024, around 3 p.m. on a Tuesday afternoon, Pastor Kendrick Oakley walked into that Hobby Lobby like he was just another customer looking for craft supplies. But this man had absolutely zero interest in yarn or picture frames. He was hunting for something much more twisted. There's this woman, just a regular person trying to shop for whatever she needed. And she has no idea that behind her, a so-called man of God is about to turn her afternoon into a nightmare. Now, I don't know what this woman was wearing. And honestly, it doesn't matter if she was in a turtleneck and floor-length skirt or a summer dress. Because what happened next is 100% on him. For 16 minutes. And let that number sink in, because that's not a quick moment of poor judgment. That's a sustained predatory attack. Pastor Oakley followed this woman through the store. We're talking about someone who literally stalked another human being through craft aisles, positioning his phone to try and record up her skirt. And get this, security footage caught him attempting this violation 11 different times. 11. This wasn't an accident. This wasn't a misunderstanding. This was deliberate, repeated criminal behavior. You know what you can do in 16 minutes. Cook dinner, take a shower, drive across town. This man spent that same amount of time terrorizing a stranger. But here's where God, or karma, depending on your belief system, stepped in. The loss prevention officer monitoring the security cameras noticed something wasn't right. While Pastor Oakley thought he was being slick, someone was watching him. This security guard didn't just sit there and do nothing. He followed Oakley out to the parking lot and got his license plate number. Then he did something that probably saved this woman from years of wondering if she was just paranoid. He told her exactly what he'd witnessed. Can you imagine that conversation? Ma'am, I need to tell you that the man who was following you around the store was trying to record under your dress. The shock, the violation, the absolute disgust this woman must have felt, knowing that while she was just trying to buy craft supplies, some pervert was treating her like his personal entertainment. She filed a police report that same day. And that's when Kendrick Oakley's perfect little world started to crumble. So police took that license plate number and did their job. They identified the predator as Pastor Kendrick Oakley. Case closed, right? Wrong. Here's where this story takes a frustrating turn that's going to make you question the entire justice system. Oakley claimed he was a tribal citizen, which meant the state couldn't prosecute him because of something called the McGirt ruling. For an entire year, this case sat in legal limbo while authorities tried to figure out jurisdiction. Meanwhile, Pastor Oakley continued preaching, got elected to that school board, and kept living his perfect little life, while his victim probably wondered if justice would ever come. The Cherokee Nation even said he might qualify for citizenship. But here's the thing about liars. Eventually, the truth catches up. In August 2025, it was finally determined that Oakley did not meet the criteria for tribal citizenship. Translation: he had been playing the system all along. On August 6, 2025, the Tulsa County District Attorney finally filed 11 felony charges against Pastor Oakley, one for each time he tried to violate that woman's privacy. That same day, Rogers County deputies arrested him. Can you imagine the phone calls that day? Honey, I got arrested. For what? Well, remember that time I went to Hobby Lobby?
Sometimes they notify you, sometimes they don't. It just kind of depends. That's a full support, not our warrants, so we don't really know too much about that. Is this your phone? I'm just going to sit right there right now. Just gonna lock these real quick. We're gonna go with this deputy right here, okay? Right over here. Hey man, I'm putting your phone right up here. You gotta give it to you. It'll be with your property. All right, thank you.
Just sit with these.
Yes, sir. We locked them so they shouldn't tighten up on you, okay? Just look that way for me.
News traveled fast. Destiny, Life, church leadership found out about the arrest through a media inquiry. They didn't even know their pastor was a predator until reporters called asking for comment. That should tell you everything about how well this man had fooled everyone. The church acted quickly, I'll give them credit. They held an emergency meeting, removed him from the pulpit, and kicked him off the school board. Lead pastor Glenn Schaffer said their greatest concern was for the victim, which is exactly what you want to hear from religious leadership. But let's talk about what this really means. 4 kids and a pregnant wife just watched their world explode because daddy couldn't control himself in a craft store. A congregation lost their spiritual leader because he was busy being a predator. Parents realized they almost put their children under the authority of someone who can't even respect a stranger's basic dignity. This case perfectly shows how predators hide behind positions of trust and authority. Kendrick Oakley weaponized people's faith to gain access and respect, while living a completely different reality. The real heroes here? That security guard who stayed alert, and that brave woman who filed charges. Because sometimes it takes ordinary people doing the right thing to expose the darkness hiding in plain sight. And ladies, next time you're shopping and feel like someone's watching you, trust that instinct. You're probably right.
Mr. Oakley, as a church elder, do you have anything to say?
No comment at this
No
time.
comment.
Thank you, guys.